Welcome to another episode of SitM Podcast. Back at it again with another episode. Man, doing something a little bit different. Speaking to, my technology folks, my folks in the IT side of um um I want to say the world, career, or however you want to put it. But today I have a very special guest. He goes by Willbeatz. If you don't know who he is, we've had several episodes on him, musical career, entrepreneurship. But we want to expand a little bit. I want to expand a little bit more into his really, his entrepreneurship, or really expand on his bag a little bit, not to really talk numbers, but to steer you into, how to get those numbers. You know what I mean? Let me not talk too much. Willbeatz, man, welcome to the platform again. Really nice having you here, bro.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, man. Again, if you don't know about Willbeatz, please search. YouTube link, SitM Podcast Willbeatz, and you know everything about him, his musical career, producing, and all that. Bro, I want to start like this, man. You went from producing music to IT, right? We know how the music industry, most of us, who are into, the music, music and stuff like that, we watch all these musical artists, producers and stuff. We see the lifestyle that they have. You chose not to go that route. You chose to say, hey, let me ground myself, find something else that I can do to add to that. What prompted you to do that? Why did you do it? What was your why?
That's a good question. I think, I think I've always had interest on the side. Even when I used to do music, still kind of do music a little bit, but when I think my time was completely dedicated to doing music. Prior to that, I was a little bit in the tech world, not doing what I'm doing now, but I was a little bit of what I used to do. It was involved in technology in some sort. I am kind of a well-rounded person, and I'm mostly interested in computers, music production somehow relates to that, right? But I think technology has always been on the side of my mind, and it has always been an interest. So while I was in the music industry, so I was focused on music on the side, and at some point I figured, it'd be best for me to dive in and explore more on that side, more so not being because music doesn't necessarily have money, but to some capacity you have to look at where you are in life and kind of want to analyze and see and where you're coming from, where you're going, what the future says, what the future has for you, and having to go over certain experiences in life. You tend to learn. You go through experiences, and what you get from those is you get relationships. You engage in professional relationships. You meet people. You experience the world. You experience music, technology, and whatever it is that you're in. But me specifically, I think evolving from music and now fully merging the tech world has given me a lot of well-rounded experience, and I think there's a little bit of the interest in it and a little bit on the financial side as well. So it kind of gives me a balance. It kind of gives me a sense of satisfaction. I'm doing both things that I have interest in. The technology is kind of an interest, not just from the financial side, but I think you have to find a niche or find a balance between making money and enjoying what you do. So it was what I realized that I would enjoy. That's why I fully got in it, and now I think I'm fully immersed and I enjoy it.
Man, that's wonderful to hear, man. Well-rounded, man. Like for most people that know you and follow and that followed your journey, man, I mean, you've inspired a lot of people. You've not only done it for yourself, but you've pulled a lot of people along with you. you're the founder, creator of TNGS Learning Solutions. What does TNGS stand for, by the way?
Oh, TNGS, it stands for my names. So those are the initials.
Gotcha.
Middle and last.
Gotcha. When did you create that? And like for most people who learn technology, a lot of people say, I'm not a teacher. Did you know you were a teacher prior to starting this? Or what motivated you to start it? I said, man, let me bring my people along with me.
It's funny because I think up to now, I don't really call myself a teacher. I think I call myself more helper. Because I think the idea evolved because I used to help a lot of people, and helping people doesn't really necessarily mean that you have to, even from financial standpoint, right? You don't have to be a millionaire to lend somebody a dollar. You don't have to be an expert to transfer knowledge. It doesn't matter what capacity. It's just, it could be so basic that that you think that is nothing, but it means so much to somebody else. So I think it came about, having to experience scenarios where I have to help a lot of my friends in the same industry, folks that started before me, folks that started together. There would be scenarios where they would reach out to me and about things where I feel like I would think I don't know, but in the effort of helping them, I realized that I think I know more than I thought I did. At least I knew certain things more than other people knew. So I feel like I started generating an interest in providing support, helping here and there from little things to even bigger things sometimes. So it gives me an exciting idea. Hey, I discussed it with people at the time. They were like, you should give it a try. I was like, maybe I should start a program where I teach people, and I began to realize that I had a lot of people around me that didn't know what I was doing. They didn't understand what I was doing, and they had no interest in what I was doing. But whatever I was doing at the moment and what I'm doing now, it tended to be very beneficial to me. It brought me a lot of, it was generating some level of income where I feel like anyone that is associated, or my friends or my colleagues or anyone that I'm surrounding myself with should actually benefit from it. Because in life, if you're doing well and the people around you are not doing well as you are, there will be some type of discrepancies between you guys, and the friendship is not going to be very, very honest, to be honest with you. So as a friend, right, if you see that a friend is in need, or you feel like there's something that we can bring somebody to take advantage of what you're already doing, I think it is very, very advisable that you do it. So I think that is the idea that I had in mind at the time. So I decided to invest in it. I decided to start thinking about ways to go about it, and I went through processes to get to where I am today. I've had the opportunity to teach multiple back, which is I started from gathering few friends and hey, I have something for you guys to learn. Just come and see what it is. See if we can invest in it. You can tap into it. If not, that's fine. But you never know unless you try. So started from there. Then I came up with, as soon as I realized that maybe I can scope it into something more substantial, more professional, more stable. Maybe I can make it as something of my own. I can make it a source of income, besides the fact, helping others. So I decided to make it, an organization, a corporation, and with that, I decided to make it a school. And so I did create, I used that to create the awareness of educating individuals around me, and I think it has expanded to a wider variety of people calling me from even out of the country or out of the state, from different areas of the world, trying to learn and try to understand what technology I'm working on, and the different technology there is. Right? Once you're in the technology industry, you tend to have a very wide, sense of diversity of what different, even beyond the field that you work on. So that was the evolution of me becoming an expanded version of what I am today.
Man, wonderful. That's a perfect segue to let the people know that we're talking about AWS today, and man, like, let's just focus on the solution architect portion of it, right? How is it beneficial to the world today? You see it on commercials, AWS. You hear people talking about AWS. Everyone's AWS this, AWS that. Really, what is it, and how is it beneficial to the world that we live in today? How can people tap into that, and why should they?
That is a very good question, and I really enjoy sometimes explaining or providing information around what really AWS is. I'm not the most experienced expert in the industry, but I think I have enough experience to give a very good sense of direction or guidance in getting into what we know as AWS today. So AWS really stands for Amazon Web Services. It's a cloud technology. In fact, it's the evolution of technology that has come a very long way. It is, if you love technology, if you love the discovery of how things start and where they are today, or how things started and where they are today in the world of technology, then you love AWS. AWS is basically exploring technology on a different spectrum. Basically, exploring technology in the cloud, right? And AWS is just one domain. It is just one platform. For example, it belongs to AWS. There are multiple cloud platforms that follows the same type of technology, like Google Cloud, Azure, like Alibaba. There are multiple cloud platforms that represents exactly what AWS stands for. But I am mainly, specialized in AWS. And with AWS, right, there are multiple fields, there are multiple domains, and there are multiple career paths that you can specify or specialize in. And what I really, encourage and specialize and advise most of the folks that are interested in the technology to focus on is the solution architect, solutioning. Being an architect, you can think about, having a dominant sense of doing, right? If you are creative, if you're innovative, if you're interested in leading, if you're a leader, you're somebody who has the initiative to create, to diversify, you would have that sense of, of interest. And I hate sometimes to put it like that, because some folks look at it like, I'm quiet, I'm dominant, I don't think that I'll be able to do it, don't think I can speak up, I don't think I can be creative. But it all really boils down to exploring yourself, right? Reaching beyond what you think your limits are, and giving that opportunity to individuals who never really know about this technology, who do not necessarily have any idea around what this is or what it could mean to them, or if they have the ability to actually learn it. Folks ask questions like, do I need prior experience? Do I need to have some coding experience? Do I need to be to have some diploma, have a certification? But I tell everyone that it doesn't matter, right? With technology, with IT specifically, I think the most important thing is the ability to understand procedures or understand steps, and I think if you have common sense, like you say, you have common sense and you know how to follow directions, you know how to follow instructions specifically, there's a reason any need for you to not be able to pursue or go through the course or go through the career path specifically. So it's a technology, it's a platform, it's the evolution what we used to, or some of us don't know what used to be, right, that exists now in the world of the cloud. Most people understand what cloud is, but AWS is basically giving you a deeper sense or deep dive on, a personal experience around having it your own way, or having to do it yourself and understand and actually create an interest specifically in it.
Man, you've taken like 5-6 questions I already had and answered in one. But now, you mentioned that, a lot of people are a little bit, I don't want to say scared, but, they think a lot about the certification or prior knowledge, coming into the field, right? Please hound again on that, for those who have that fear, or for those who think that they're not well equipped, or they don't have, the right education to get into this. Like, what is it that they need, just coming into this, right? Or do they need any cert? Or even if they don't have one, let's say, for example, in the medical field, or they in the transportation field, for example, coming into this, what should they absolutely have, right? Just coming into this, walking into this.
I think you hit a very good point there. I can evidently say that, a lot of folks that approach me around inquiries, which is normal for anyone to make sure that, whatever they're getting into, they can go through it. Nobody wants to get through something that at some point they realize that this is not the path for them. So it's always very important to maybe have a basic understanding, have some conceptual understanding around what is required, right, for you to even take the course. Secondly, what will be required for you to go through the course, right? And once you get through the course, right, what will be required for you to actually make it through, like certifications, prerequisites, how difficult it is, right? And what it will take for you to get a job. Like you said, there's a lot of questions around, can I do AWS? What is needed for me to do AWS? And the answer I always give everyone is there is no prerequisites, there's no pre-requirements, and just like unlike you have in college, where for you to attend certain programs, you need to have a certain amount of credit, or you have to take basics in specific subjects for you to get into the program. But with AWS, with IT, and specifically AWS, honestly, there is no pre-requirements. There is no requirement for you to have degrees, any certifications, any knowledge at all. You don't need to have any knowledge. And I think I can speak specifically for my course, right? Because I think there might be other courses out there that would not necessarily touch base or do a deep dive on the basics that would help someone who doesn't have any prior knowledge in order to ramp up and to understand before getting into this stuff that will make it a little bit difficult for anyone that hasn't been in that field before. So with my course, I think I do a deeper dive into the basics, even the basics of computer, right? AWS is about computing technology. And it helps a lot for someone who is just getting into the field to understand the background of how AWS came about, why AWS is there, and what exactly does it do. So understanding all of these questions kind of brings you up to speed slowly, and not just take you and just throw you out there into the wolves and say that, hey, find a way. So it's more of a guidance, it's more of due diligence, or it's more of a proper coaching, which I always take the time and effort to do, because I think for the most part I always have folks in my class who have no experience at all, folks who have or had no prior knowledge on IT or AWS or anything that is at all related to AWS. So it helps a lot for me to break it down, the scope, to break down requirements, and give them assurance, not just because I want them to attend the course, but also because it is the truth. And most of the times, it is hidden from us. Right? A lot of us would, knowledge is power, and without knowledge, we can get lost easily. There are other folks, folks, and I don't want to mention anything specific, but there are other folks who work in conjunction with each other, who educate each other, who provide a lot of information around this type of things, which help their peers, their fellow countrymen, their fellow tribal people, their fellow, family members, to get plugged into what they're already doing. Because once they get in, they realize that it is for everybody. Mm-hmm. Anybody can do it, right? Mm-hmm. So it gives me, once I got into the field, the industry, I realized that, I get in contact, I get to work with folks who, who I thought knew more than I do, but I realized that I think I know more than them. And there are folks who are not even in the IT field, who have more knowledge and experience that I do in other areas, right, than I did before I got into the technology world, that could do even better than myself. So I began bringing that awareness. Even like you mentioned earlier, right, I have had folks in my class that are from pharmacy, that have been working in the pharmacy industry for several years, and they converted to AWS, and they're doing well right now. Have folks that were nurses before, had folks that were doing other fields or other in other industries that has no direct relationship with IT, with AWS specifically, that have been able to plug in and are doing so well and able to excel. So with that, it's not just a matter of me trying to convince anyone to do something, but I have, I was, folks like, here's an example. There's a folks that are already working that did the class. They had no experience before. They had the same doubts that you did at the beginning, but because they were determined, they decided to take a chance and make a sacrifice. They were able to do it. So I think that kind of motivates individuals, as far as that is exactly what they wanted to do, or they were ready to explore another area in their life, and they went ahead and were successful.
Yep. Man, you hit some key points there. And to iterate more on it, let me plug in your next class coming up, and it's a 6 to 7 week Zoom course that goes from Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time, right? Yep. Your next session starts what date? I don't see on the flyer.
August 8th, actually. Yeah.
Oh yeah, big. Oh yeah, August 8th. Yep. And the flyer will be somewhere here on the screen. I'll be, flashing it somewhere here on the screen. You know what I mean? The email is on there. The phone number is on there. Plug in, man. Plug in. I myself, I took one of your classes. I never followed up on it. You know what I mean? But most of the folks that was in that class with them, they're currently, in the field right now, doing major things, so definitely tap in. I've really listened to you teach throughout an entire session. Man, it's like one of the most humbling, moments ever, because it's like, yo, you see somebody that you thought would know nothing about this, right? And they give you so much knowledge, and you're just sitting there and like, wow, yo, like, people really move different, not until you sit down and really have that conversation with them, you begin to understand that, there are really different things out here to do. And also to a point that you made about that fear, talking to people within the industry, once you get in, you also realize that there are people who are just ready to teach, right? Ready to also pull you through that ladder too, to say, hey, I know, you're a junior person in this, but I see the potential in you. I see that drive. Yo, come along the ride, and start showing you different things, provided if you have that determination and that drive to learn, right? For those who are just listening, who are in different works of life and saying, oh yeah, that sounds all good. What is the average salary in AWS? Architect solutions to that. What is the average salary, if you would say?
Just to throw a good ball around the financial aspect of what you can make in the field, in AWS specifically. I think there is a range, right? But just from an average perspective, we're talking about 150K a year, right? $150,000 a year. That's money, that's an income that a lot of folks will go for a year, will go to school for 7 years, 8 years, or even 4, 5, 6, 7 years in order to make, and still not able to afford it. Versus going attending an accelerated course for 7 weeks and 8 weeks or a couple months, right? A couple 3 months, and having a job once you're determined. It is a great figure. It is very encouraging, and it's realistic. 150 is an average, right? It is way, it's no way near the maximum what you can make. It goes way beyond that. So why I mentioned that is to say that in AWS specifically, being an architect, right? Being an architect in any field, it is very paramount to responsibilities. At the same time, there is a very lightweight requirement around having so much to do versus knowing so much doesn't mean that you necessarily have to do a lot. The only one thing that I would mention, whenever I throw that out to anyone there, is not just putting flashing lights in your eye and trying to convince you to take a step forward and for whatever you find yourself, but more about making the determination, right? Making the sacrifice. I think the first step in moving this direction is not just looking at the financials. Well, it's very encouraging to say that's what you want to make. You want to get to a point where you're making that amount of money here. You want to get to a point where you can financially take care of yourself, your family, your friends. You can stabilize a standard for the life that you live, especially in America where it is very demanding to be able to maintain a certain lifestyle, right? To live a normal lifestyle. Moving towards the direction of wanting to take AWS, you have to make a determination that this is absolutely something that you want to do. Because what I'm telling you is that it's not impossible. It's definitely not rocket science. It is definitely probably not as difficult as the nursing school that you went to or the pharmacy school that you went to. It's not as difficult, but it's more about making that sacrifice, that determination that this is what you want to do. And once you begin the journey, it will give you less chances to give up, because a lot of folks tend to have the expectation that because it's IT means that it's very easy or it's very difficult. I can't say it's easy and difficult, but everyone has a specific way of learning, right? Part of making it successful in this field is to understand what type of learning style you have, or that you have, and making the dedication and sacrifice to learn and to study, because there isn't any chance that you're going to guess your way around it. It's a lot of material to go through, but the material to go through is not difficult. It's probably just following instructions, right? If you have the ability to follow through instructions and have the patience to, make a mistake and correct yourself, or find ways to go through the same experience again and realize that, instead of making a left, you should have made a right. And then the second iteration where you're going through again, you've decided that you're going through again and you learn your way through it. It is the right path, and you would excel, absolutely excel, and you make it through, and not just completing the program, but you strive to get in the job. And I think my course is not so focused on just take the AWS class. I think I make it possible, right? I try to hold everybody's hand and help to make sure that once they start the class, they get to a point where they get a job, because that's the end, or that's the purpose of taking the class or taking the AWS solution to the course. in case you decide that that's the path that you want to take. It is good to actually start and complete. The completion of my course is not really, going through those 7 weeks, classes, but making it through the 7 weeks and eventually getting a job. Once you get a job, then you can say that you can totally went through the course. So it's always encouraging. I always encourage everyone. Whenever somebody else get a job, I was posting the chat and I try to encourage everyone. Don't give up. It takes several trials, several steps for you to make it through a milestone. But eventually, once you make it through, you realize that it wasn't as difficult as you thought it was. But eventually, at the beginning, it might seem like rocket science, but the goal is not to give up.
Yep. Man, for beginners, right, who are listening and they want to get that quick information to get a brief understanding of what AWS is or how to navigate. Two-part question: where should they start, and what certification should they absolutely start working towards?
Yeah, the search. Okay. Yes, the certification required for the AWS Solutions Architect is the AWS Solutions Architect Associate Certification, and that is the certification that you will be required to have at the end of the program, the AWS Solutions Architect program. And after maybe working for 2 years and getting some more experience, then you can dive into the professional certification, which again, also puts you in a different salary range, way higher than the average that I mentioned earlier.
Man, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you feel like the people should know? I know I didn't ask you about how much a session is for those interested to take the session. Like how much is a session, and other than the 6 to 7 week course that the participant, what else comes with that? I know maybe interview preps, of course, definitely, but what else comes with the package?
No, absolutely. So besides the program running for 7 weeks, the program basically runs for 7 weeks, 4 days a week, Mondays to Thursdays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. every day. So for 4 days a week, so 8 hours a week, so about 48 hours total. That's for the 6 weeks. And usually the last week will be for revision. So we go over what we've learned so far. We do interview preparations. I help with resume preparations. I help to provide you with a resume template and build a template for you. And once you work on the resume, I review it and make sure that it is ready for you to begin applying for resumes. For interviews. And I also provide a huge sense of guidance when it comes to the industry, right? There is a lot of doubts, or there's a lot of misguidance around how to go about, right? There is processes, there's ways to get into the market, to get into the industry without taking the routes that people take, and eventually realize that they are lost or they don't have anybody to guide them. I think with my experience, having to work over the past few years, I have gained a lot of experience, and I know the loops and the holes and the short ways and the easier ways, right, to navigate and establish yourself well in this world. And I think everybody deserves that. Everybody deserves to understand how easier it is versus what they were thinking that it could be. And back in the days when I got into AWS, it wasn't as easy as it is now. There wasn't a lot of people out there that were already in the field or in the industry that could help guide you, or that could help guide you in certain fields or areas where you do not have any clue. How do you go about interviewing? What to expect during an interview, right? What are the different options that will be given once you start interviewing, or once a job description is brought your way? What to look for in the job description? What type of job titles to be aware of, and which ones to not look forward to? in conjunction with AWS or solution architecting, there are other requirements that can be needed for someone who is looking for jobs that, in the field where you are. And you might seem to get lost easily in looking for the wrong thing and eventually not being able to get a job because your resume doesn't have the pointers that individuals that are trying to hire for this role you're looking for. Right? Your resume is your selling point. Your resume kind of describe who you are to someone who does not know you, or they have no idea what you look like, what you know, the experience that you have. Your resume kind of presents that first level of understanding before even deciding, from 20 resumes, or 5 resumes, or from 2 resumes, which one to select. So you have to sell yourself from your resume and also understand how to answer interviews. Certain interview questions that will be expected. You should expect, for example, on all interviews, there are most asked questions, and there are certain ways that you have to answer these questions, right? Having to take a program for 7 weeks might not give you a whole lot of understanding, you know, for executing projects in the real world. But my program mainly focuses on giving a lot of hands-on, right? I focus more on providing a lot of hands-on and guidance so that you have an experience with somebody who is actually working on the job. So I bring a lot of the stuff that I do in the real world, that I've been doing in the past, I bring it in the past, and I'm making a real-time experience for everybody taking the class so that they see what is there in the real world. It's not about reading textbooks or reading documentations that will get you through the door. It's more about having a real-time experience, having done this before, right? What is your experience? How have you done it? What is the idea around having hands-on experience? Because during the interview process, the questions asked are very, very dependent on you having to do something before. So how do you overcome that challenge, that fear of taking an interview? How do you overcome that fear of taking an interview in a corporate world, for example? Not even from a technical perspective, also from a business and functional perspective. Do you understand the corporate structure, the enterprise, the organizational structure of where you might find yourself or where you might work before? Having that scope, having someone to guide you and provide you information, not just from a technical perspective around some of the requirements, some of the tools beyond AWS, some of the folks that you might be working with in the real world environment, because you might be working with other architects, but you'll be working with managers, scrum masters, you'll be working with analysis, you're working with engineers and developers, right? How do you interact with these folks? What are some of the requirements or questions ask or questions that you can ask? First day, first week, eventually on the job, and what are some of the questions that you should not ask, right? So some of these things can help you make it or not make it in the industry, because I've seen folks that successfully gone in, but unfortunately they get they get this they get disqualified or they get fired because of one or two reasons, because they asked the wrong questions, they made the wrong comment, or they were not guided properly. So I think my program, I tend to focus on making it a little bit more family oriented, in the sense of let me build a culture around us Africans first. Dominantly, I try to encourage and educate a lot of folks in the African community who do not already know about IT, who do not know about AWS specifically. It's a new technology. It only evolved somewhere around 2006, and it is still evolving. There is a long life cycle that is going to be around AWS for the far future. So AWS is not going anywhere soon. It is here to stay for a very long time. There is no other technology that's going to dominate AWS for right now. So I will encourage everyone to dive in it, even if you don't take my program or my course. But let us go in it. There are other tribes, folks that are really dominant in this. I think we have the opportunity, or we have the knowledge, and we have the resources to dive in and cultivate inside the IT world. So I would encourage everyone to look into it, look into AWS. Um, Call me, if you need to inquire about the program, have some knowledge, have some understanding. We can spend some time on the phone and I will explain to you what AWS is about, explain to you what it would take or what we require for you to make it through the 7 weeks first, right? And if it's something that you decide to go with, then you will be well guided. You have prior knowledge before getting into it, and you make a proper decision before making any step forward.
Wonderful, man. Appreciate your time, Will. Lots of knowledge, man. I myself, I'm definitely, bro. I'm on this thing, man. I give myself to the end of third quarter to lock this in. So, yeah. When you see my call, just know that I'm definitely hitting you up to,
I think we need to talk.
For sure. Hey, listeners, watchers, the flyer will be right here up on the screen. You got his email on there. I'll also put his social media down on the show notes, his website as well. Everything will be in the show notes. Reach out if you need, if you have questions. AWS is a space to go into right now. Microsoft Azure too. Matter of fact, the cloud, man. The cloud, man, is that space to get into right now. Yeah, for sure. Is there anything else you'd like to, like for the people to know about Will or about, the cloud before we close out?
I think, I think that's really it. If you're looking for more information, please reach out to me. And I really love talking about technology as much as I love talking about music. But there are people who ask me about AWS, and I think a lot of people are really curious. A lot of people also tend to be curious about AWS because of my journey personally, having to evolve from music into the IT world and be so successful in what I do, having to gain so much knowledge and experience, so much that I'm able to teach and educate others and help others as well. Kind of encourages others as well, right? Because sometimes people look at your personal experience and try to map and make sense of it, right? But you can make more sense of your journey than anybody else. And there is no field of work that you cannot map and eventually find a way around AWS. It is not impossible. I would encourage everyone that it doesn't matter where you're from IT, even if you're a medical doctor, it doesn't matter. You can make it through AWS. It's just a series of instructions that you need to follow and steps in order for you to get through the program and eventually get a job. So, folks, reach out to me if you need some help, and and also I want to thank you for the opportunity for bringing me on. And I know, I've taken up your time, but I really appreciate it. And hopefully we will be talking again very soon.
No, for sure. I appreciate you, man. You're a hard man to to lock down to, do these episodes, man. And I really do appreciate you taking the time to do this with me, man. Definitely keep doing what you do. I firsthand seen the lives that you've changed and the lives that you will keep changing. So keep doing your thing, man. Really, really appreciate individuals like you within our respective spaces, and especially from where we come from too as well. So really appreciate you for that. He is the founder of TNGS Learning Solutions. Stay up to date and innovate in the cloud. AWS solutions architect and developer or whichever. Man, there's so much to uncover in here, but he will take you through the very, 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 very first step, which is getting through the door. AWS solutions architect. The flyer will be up here. Reach out. The email will be there. Phone number. Reach out. I can't stress enough, man. Reach out. You heard the numbers. The proof is in the pudding. Just reach out, man. Without saying too much, this is SitM Podcast. I'm your host, Uncle AK. My guest today was Willbeatz, and we out.
Shout out to SitM Podcast. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Stuck in the Middle. This is your girl, Adele Clarice. Shout out to Stuck in the Middle Podcast. We love you guys. Mwah.
General, I feel like I'm stuck in the middle. Stuck in the Middle podcast. Big shout out to the family. I'm talking Reflex, AK, Churi, and the rest of the gang. Hey, make sure you bring all your important information, your art, everything. In the DMV, doesn't matter where you are, come to the DMV to Stuck in the Middle podcast. That's where it's happening.